Today we're going to talk about 2 reasons why Google and Facebook should look at buying the leading game engine, Unity. Now, before we get started, I just want to say that I don't actually want this to happen. I don't think this would be a good thing for the gaming industry. These companies are big enough, they control enough of the market. We do not want them to actually control that part as well. And I don't think this is gonna happen either with all the antitrust issues currently happening on the market. But what I'm saying here is that if I was at Google and at Facebook, this is something that I would look at very, very closely because it makes a lot of sense. Unity just got public. Unity is a real-time 3D engine. They power about 50% of the top 1,000 games in the market. So huge powerhouse, almost a monopoly in the creation of mobile games. More and more indies, more and more big studios are using Unity to create amazing gaming experiences. So why would Google and Facebook actually look at acquiring Unity? The first reason is about the ecosystem. Think about how Google built their business. Google is built around a full ecosystem on the web and on mobile. 50% of your time spent online is probably spent in one of Google's property. You want to search for something, you go to Google. You want to check your emails, it's Gmail. You want to store something, it's Drive. You want to download an app, it's on the Play Store. Half of people using mobile are powered by Android. Whatever you do, you're stuck in the Google ecosystem. And Google is basically tracking users by getting data points, how you use the product, what do you do online. They centralize all of this, they package it, and they sell that for a high premium to advertisers. That's how Google makes money. That is their ecosystem. So by having a creation layer on top of that, which is used by most creators to build their game, Google would also be able to own that part of the process. Currently, they own the monetization with solutions like AdMob and others, which by the way makes more money on Unity games than Unity makes themselves. They also own the distribution layer with the Google Play Store. What they're lacking is the third layer, the third part of the experience, which is the layer that creators use to build their games. If they were able to own that as well, they could tailor the gaming experience to their distribution layer. In this case, Android. And they could make sure that the experience is always better on Android than it is on iOS, for example. So they could actually increase their market penetration. They could increase defensibilities by controlling that part of the ecosystem. And by the way, this is an argument that you could also make for Apple and other platforms in reverse. Now, defensibilities here is my second reason, and it applies to Facebook more than to anyone else. See, Facebook is lagging behind Google and Apple because they do not own the distribution layer. They do not have the device. They do not have an operating system. Mark Zuckerberg famously sent a memo to his board in 2015 to make the case for the fact that Facebook should buy Unity and should own the creation layer, especially as Facebook is very focused on building the next platform, the next computing platform, which is virtual reality with Oculus. See, Mark Zuckerberg was very smart. He realized that he was lacking the distribution. He was lacking the last mile communication with the users. And so by building Oculus, they now have the hardware and they have the operating system as well. The problem is that VR is not mainstream yet, but 70% of VR experiences are built with Unity. So the way that Zuckerberg is thinking about it is that if they manage to own the creation layer and then the operating system and the hardware, they will be able to compete and even lead the field against Google and Apple, who at the moment do not have anything lined up for spatial computing technologies. So you're thinking about the future and how Facebook could actually become a major player there by owning the creation layer and optimizing the content for the Oculus platform at the expense of other platforms potentially. So for Facebook, it would be all about defensibilities. Now, third reason is that it would actually be a cheap acquisition. Unity has been valued at 13 billion with the IPO, which is about 1% of Google's market cap. They both have dropped more money into acquisition. Facebook has dropped 19 billion to acquire WhatsApp. So it is definitely in the realm of things that they actually can do and can afford and wouldn't be a big risk to their business. Now, if you're working at Facebook, at Google, or at Amazon or Microsoft or Apple for that matter, you know that real-time 3D is the future. The content that people consume these days is not traditional media, it's not traditional websites or apps, more and more people are spending time immersed into more immersive content, like games or virtual reality in the future and augmented reality that, by the way, Google, Facebook, and Apple have spent billions of dollars trying to develop. And guess what? Most of this content is creating with real-time 3D engines, and Unity has a 70% market share of that. So it would make total sense for them to consolidate their position this way. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't think it's gonna happen, but the future will tell.